99 episodes, and we got our first fan mail.
We did.
I'm so excited for this.
And we decided that opening the fan mail as the opener for the show makes sense.
Would you like an opener?
No, I'm going to use my ding-dang claws.
It's a nice package.
Okay,
I'm
you
going
should
to rip
bring these
it.
then.
Thank you, Marcus.
So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you should probably not tear it.
And
well, too late.
I'm already in it.
It's not a nice package anymore.
This is from Seven.
It is.
Seven is a human being. Well, part human being, part God.
Yeah.
But
Seven is like a mythical creature in and to
Yes.
himself.
it's a game, I think. A Play-Doh
The Grape
game?
Escape.
The Grape
Ooh.
Escape.
Nice.
We
That's
got
awesome.
the Grape Escape, and there are children on the back having the absolute time of their life.
Yeah, they are.
That's going to be us.
That will hold no candle to the time we will have
Exactly.
with this. So,
I'm the one on the very left.
which one? Okay, yeah,
yeah.
I could definitely see that. She's got her fists up in the air, but close to the body, like, ooh, I can't believe we're getting to play this game. I would like to be the Play-Doh because I want you all to squish me.
You just want us to have our hands all over your body. That's all it is.
I do. I really do. Actually, we can take care of that whenever the intro music happens, and then we can podcast. So consider me Play-Doh, boys.
Can we take turns?
Yes.
I'm thinking E flat.
THX. Sound quality.
See, I think that's E flat.
Wow.
Is it E
I
flat?
think me and you were closer to E flat.
Yeah,
That's
I was just
my-
making sounds.
I was just surprised I could make that sound for that length of time.
Hey, everybody, I'm Dane Holland, and what shape did the 90s make me into?
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer, and that sounds familiar.
I'm Marcus, the ball game player man, known as I Am Electric Man.
And I'm Austin Tiny Zent, and balls are a boy's first scratch and sniff.
I don't want to breathe in too deeply in this episode of Nerd It Through the Grapevine, the podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture. And if you've been with us for the last 99 episodes, you've probably heard tons of stuff about the 90s because, well, it was amazing for nerd culture. And with this being episode 99, I want to specifically talk about the year 1999 because just when I see that number, it stands out to me. And I never know exactly why. I just know that 1999 means a lot to me. And I didn't know why.
Well,
And
plus you're a really big Prince fan, so it makes.
That was in my head.
Tonight we're gonna party like it's 19.
Out of time.
Oh God, here he goes. He's getting it.
now I know the song. I just had to hear it from both of you guys.
Yeah.
And I wanted to look up why 1999 meant something to me. And it turns out when it comes to film and video games, because as a 10-year-old, what else am I going to do? I'm going to watch movies and I'm going to play video games. As a 33-year-old, what do I do now? Both those same things as well. And there's so many movies that actually, to be exact, IMDb says that 3,977 movie titles came out in 1999.
3,000?
3,977 reported movie titles like that IMDb has record of coming out in 1999. Now, I'm sure many of those are things that,
Hot stinking fecal garbage.
yeah, they probably don't even count as real actual movies. They may
Still,
have
though.
taken individual like America's Funniest Home Videos and considered those movies to get a number that high.
I wonder how many we put out nowadays.
At
Don't know.
least 100, right?
That's more than 10.
At least. And then with video games, 635 titles came out that year.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's also more than 10.
That's so much more than 10. But with I want to start with movies and kind of just talk about some of these that impacted me. Because I was going through the list and just everyone that I saw that helped shape me as a nerd. I wanted to talk about those a little bit and check and see which ones you guys are familiar with. and maybe one that I don't know much about, or one on my list that didn't really do as much for me as it did for you. I put them in here according to their IMDb ratings, so their star rating from lowest to highest star rating. And the lowest one on this list is Wild Wild West. And I know we've talked about Wild Wild West in the past because that was what, like steampunk or coal punk or whatever we decided it was.
Cowboy or cyber.
Cowpunk?
Cattle punk.
Cattle punk.
Yeah,
totally.
Cattle punk.
Exactly.
But Wild Wild West, like I had already loved Will Smith's rap like career for a while at that point.
Getting jiggy with it.
Exactly. That's my first CD I ever had was Big Willie Style. And Wild Wild West came out, and it was awesome. Like I'm sure now maybe not so much, but as a 10-year-old getting to see big mechanical spiders and cowboys and like 007 style things in it, it was something unlike anything I'd ever seen. And actually, I don't know, like I wonder if cowpunk was much of a movie thing before that, because it felt to me, and even looking back on it, it still feels like one of the first ever to mix that much sci-fi.
Maybe on the screen.
On screen, yeah. Because I'm sure in like book form, I'm sure there was plenty, but on screen, at least it's one of the biggest titles of that.
For sure.
But that helps me like be able to clash two genres together and realize that it's a good thing. Like, and I didn't realize it at that time. That's what was happening. But in my head, like shaping me as a nerd, it was like, man, you can take two of your favorite things and smash them together and then get a really good product out of it that you enjoy even more than you would those things separate from one another. So Wild Wild West did that for me, and it didn't do much for many people, I guess, because it doesn't even have a 5 out of 10 star rating. Stuart Little was a really good animated but not animated movie because you had the animated little mouse and then the real people. And I think he was the only animated thing.
That and whatever other little mouse type creatures that were in the movie, because in the movie he also met his, using quotations, parents that were just two other mice that were hired to try and kidnap him.
Oh, no.
Stuart Little, I loved that movie whenever it first came out, but as an adult I look back and I watch it. And I become upset because I'm thinking to myself, like, all these kids sad in the orphanage, just trying and hoping to get a family and go off. And like, no, I'll take the mouse. You stay here in sad land. I'm taking this mouse.
I'll take the thing that can't really control its bowels. That's what I want to take home with me.
But that's the movie is still cute, and the book is like a children's classic. So
yeah, and it, I think, because before that we had the Looney Tunes and like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and a lot of like animation mixed with real people. But as far as like something overtly CGI like that mixed with real people, to my memory, that was the first thing like that I had seen that sticks out to me. Again, I was 10 years old, and I don't know, just thinking back, like I was like, this is neat, like that this can be done. And that was kind of in the earlier stages of trying to get the CGI to look realistic as well, because he looked like every other mouse you see with T-shirts on running around your home.
yeah.
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is like an easy one just to throw on the list.
Well, that's another animated character. Everyone's favorite.
Jar Jar? Oh yeah. Plenty of Jar Jar going on. And we got to see what he wanted from Star Wars with everything in technology that it could use. Like, because before they had to basically remake scenes in the first 3 to be able to use all the technology that he wanted to use. And George Lucas actually got to use all that stuff with Episode 1. And that's where we got Jar Jar and all the other... And NASCAR.
Yeah.
Which...
In space.
Yes. Which is awesome. It's the only way NASCAR is fun for me. But Star Wars, I mean, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, we could have an entire episode around that, which at some point I would like us to have.
Oh, that'd be great.
But this is not that episode. Just so everyone knows, 1999 is when that came out. So that launched my Star Wars love.
Oh, yeah.
Probably from there, actually, because the first 3, I wasn't really big into those until this one came out, and I got excited about it. So then that started everything for me. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, came out in 99, and that was a different realm of comedy that I hadn't really experienced, because it was more akin to like Airplane style humor. Like, and who is that actor that's in Airplane? I know Mike Myers was was this. You may have to put on your hood and go to your special place to be able to find the name of that actor because he
Talking
always a
about
white
Dan
hair.
Aykroyd?
No,
I didn't
it's
think he
the
was
same
on there.
guy. He's in like the Naked Gun movies
and
and Airplane
yeah.
and all those. But
oh man, I know who you're talking about.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Leslie
Yes,
Nielsen,
Leslie
thank you.
Nielsen.
So this was kind of in that realm, and Airplane and Naked Gun were a little too old for me at that time. And Austin Powers was a more new age version of some of that humor mixed in. Like not a lot of it, but there were moments like with it might have not been this one, but just an example from Austin Powers movies is when they have the little flattener, the rolly flattener truck or tractor thing. And the guy's sitting there screaming like for it to stop. And it's just so slow moving its way at him and eventually flattens him completely flat. And he's got all the time in the world to move away, but he just doesn't. And that kind of humor just works in certain places. And something like Austin Powers, it worked really well. And it let me know that that kind of comedy exists. We also got Toy Story 2 that year as well. Which Toy Story 1, already a huge hit. Toy Story 2, it was like, well, can they do this again and make something successful? And they did, and they nailed it.
They're still making them now.
That's because they introduced Jesse.
Yep.
And Bullseye.
And the
miner.
No, he was of age. He was actually an old man. And he... what was his name? He dug for gold. There's a name for those people.
Pistol Pete or something?
69ers?
No. 69ers, yeah.
You really are Stinky Pete.
Was it Stinky Pete?
Stinky
that was
Pete.
his
Yeah,
name?
that's his name.
Oh, I thought he had
I'm
a
going to
different name.
surprise y'all and just let you know I've never seen that.
Toy Story 2?
Yeah.
Ever seen Toy Story 2?
I've seen the first one.
2 was really good. Actually, they've all been really good. But yeah, Toy Story 2 just added on to, if I had forgotten about Toy Story by that point, then it reintroduced it in a way that now I had enough Toy Story for it to last forever with me instead of just being one good movie that I remember liking. Now that there's 2, there would end up being, 4 I think they've made, and plenty of offshoots and all this stuff.
And now Lightyear.
And Lightyear that's coming out soon, which is really exciting. I don't want to go pay money to see it, but I do want to watch it.
Yeah.
So, but Toy Story 2, fantastic. The Iron Giant, to my memory, the first cartoon that ever made me cry, and that will still make me cry to this day, with the Superman and him flying up and saving everybody,
Spoilers?
sacrificing himself. Tiny, no.
I mean, I've not seen that
Have you
one
not
either.
seen the Iron Giant?
Nope.
That is your fault, and you missed the boat.
It's
You didn't even spoiler for it
it's
for
a-
people like me.
Yeah, or me. I haven't seen it either.
Oh man,
We cannot. We can't spoiler fart for 30 years.
1999. Yeah, 30 years. No, not
Where do we
yet.
draw the line?
Where
Yeah.
do we draw the
Yeah,
line?
where?
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Let
it
us
is a
know.
good point.
Let us know in the comments. That's what people say, right? Is that
In-
something
in
they
Not
say?
on a podcast.
In
Oh,
7
okay,
years, it'll be 30 years. What you're talking about, your topic, that date.
Well,
Oh, that
tell us in our
sucks.
Discord
Fine.
where we can cut off.
The Iron Giant
Spoiler
has over
free.
an 8 star rating on IMDb, which is
Good.
fantastic, and it deserves every single one of those plus 2 more. The Sixth Sense was one of the first movies that I
Oh, yeah.
avoided
Good one.
because it looked scary. And so I never saw it. I still to this day have not seen The Sixth Sense. I know the spoiler at the end of it. Hint, hint, they're all dead.
What,
I
where do
know.
we draw the line?
I don't know,
You
Marcus.
ain't seen that one either?
Let
Okay,
us know
I've
in
seen
the
that one.
comments.
I actually have something to say about this one because
Please.
to me, Fight Club came out in 1999.
Yes, it
Gross.
did. That's
Everybody
also on
loved
my
that
list.
movie.
Yeah.
Not
Everybody loved
everybody.
it.
Not
Well,
everybody.
most people.
Everybody.
I don't like it.
We know.
We know.
We know that.
When we say everyone, you do not count ever.
But no, I'm not saying I hate the movie. I think it's okay. But I think The Sixth Sense is a superior movie. And they definitely have very
Absolutely.
similar plots and similar endings.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, those 2 movies, I feel like, kind of spawned a lot of movies with that same kind of twist ending. So I don't know. There's like several. There was Johnny Depp was in one, like Secret Window. It had
Yeah,
the same ending.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really good.
You stole my story.
It's really good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think The Sixth Sense pulls that twist off the best out of all those movies
Right.
with the same twist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they have the same twist.
It's the same twist.
No, it's not.
You were
trope.
the thing
It
you were
is
looking for
not.
the whole time,
trope.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's not how
Yeah.
the Sixth Sense ends.
pretty much.
Well, no.
You were the ghost.
He was dead the whole time.
I mean, I know he was dead the whole time. I've seen the movie, Marcus.
Spoiler, guys. Jeez.
Gosh.
Oh, yeah, spoilers. He was dead the whole time.
And also The Matrix.
Oh, yeah.
We don't even have to say
So
much about
good.
The Matrix. I mean, that made me get sunglasses and a trench coat as a 10-year-old, which
That-
now
yeah.
would not look good.
Well, even then, I don't think it
I don't
really
care.
did.
Well, no, it
still
looks
wearing
great,
mine.
Marcus. That looks so good in it.
Before your joints became made of cork, you were able to do that Matrix move.
That movie could have only come out in the 1999. Like,
Yes.
there's no other time for that movie to come out.
Well, they even tried making a third one or
Yeah.
fourth one recently.
Which
and
has-
That's
These
arguable.
sisters.
That's arguable. I still haven't seen that, actually.
No?
I need to watch it and get my own opinion.
Don't waste it. Yeah, I do want you to see it, but don't waste your time at the same time.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
You really need to not have any plans before you sit down and watch that.
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened whenever they made The Force Awakens?
Well, what are you talking about?
Where they clearly were just going to make another trilogy of stuff?
Shut up.
I'm just saying.
I love that movie. You're just doing that to hurt me. You're just saying things to purposely hurt me.
Well, no, they're just the Matrix is.
Well, I think we're just saying it's a trend. Like all these huge corporations are like, oh, well, they did it. We should probably do that with our IPs too.
Yeah.
Let's reboot. It's a soft reboot. Soft reboot.
I'll totally just spoil it all for you later, so you don't got to waste your time. It pissed me off so heavy.
Yeah, they didn't even.
I'd
go
rather
with
just
the
have my own
theory
head
that I had.
canon at this point.
Yeah, if they would have gone with the theory that I had, it would have been
That's
so
my
much
head
better.
canon.
Oh,
It's your
okay.
theory.
Me
time.
too.
They should listen to us.
Yeah,
too.
they should. We're great.
I'm going to move on to games real quick because there's a few of these I really want to cover that we didn't in your section of whenever you covered games in the 90s. Superman on the N64. Remember that? Remember one of the worst games of all time? Pretty much everyone in gaming agrees.
Scars?
that Superman was one of the worst games ever.
I was way
because
off.
it was so hard to control Superman flying through a city, going through rings.
Yep, I could never get past the first
Me
level.
either.
There was no way that I could ever experience what the game was. I couldn't get past the first level, and it was like is it Bruce Timm? Is that the name of the person that, or who's the one that voices?
Bruce Timm was the artist. That was
It
the
was-
art style
Okay.
Justin Timberlake.
for him. Tim Daly, but I don't know if it was all the way back then.
Because
Was it?
that's what it was based off of.
Right.
Was that Superman?
Oh, okay,
Was
so
the
it might have been
animated-
Tim Daly
Yeah,
then.
it was
It wasn't-
Superman,
maybe.
the animated series, Superman.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to play it. We rented it from the local video store. I remember the smell of the box when you opened it up, and it still smelled like the cigarettes on the inside of the store.
Yep.
Like,
Must have been
and
Blockbuster.
Oh, it was.
and then you just couldn't play it. I wish
No.
that I could have, because it looked like it was going to be awesome. You like look through the little manual. He's got like laser vision you're getting to use and this and that, but you don't learn how to do it so you can navigate the rings.
Can we have a moment of silence for the death of the video game manual?
Amen.
That's it.
We need those back
I know
because
they were so
now
they
you
were
have to
so
pay
informative.
$40 for a big like version of one where you could just get a free one to.
I was talking about the little
Read it.
booklet inside
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
told you all the controls.
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff.
Well, now they just shovel that information in the ones you got to pay a bunch of money for because
Oh,
they
do
don't
they?
give it to you for free anymore.
I don't buy
Yeah.
those. They're
It's like the game manual things.
so expensive.
Another one. Pokemon had a lot of games come out in 99, which they still do that now to where they just release a shit ton of stuff. But Pokemon Pinball, Pokemon Snap, Silver and Gold, and some other like not well-known game. Oh, Stadium was another one that came out that year, Pokemon Stadium. So Pokemon already at the height of his existence at that point. And I had at one point all these games and loved every single one of them. But out of all of them, I think Pokemon Pinball and Pokemon Snap are the two that I got the most time out of. Because Pokemon Pinball, I had it on my Game Boy. And there was a battery, like a AAA battery went into the cartridge for it that slid into the Game Boy Color. And it was like a rumble pack. So whenever you would hit certain points on the pinball machine in the game, you would feel like the Game Boy rumble. And that was really cool for the time and still is cool now that I think about it. And I love pinball now as an adult. And I think Pokemon Pinball really did that for me because that was, I think, the first game, because I had that before I had Pokemon Snap. I think it was the first game that was the like Pokemon card game or just standard Pokemon game in general that I'd played. And I didn't know I could still enjoy Pokemon outside of those things. Like I thought that they basically just existed there and that was going to be it.
Pokemon Snap was innovative because it was your very first look at the 3D Pokemon. And then after Snap, you had Stadium come out that same year that used that same look at the Pokemon, but you got to fight each other. And I played the shit out of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did too. I still have the cartridge. Don't have the 64 anymore, but I still have the cartridge for it.
Not gonna lie, Xena Warrior Princess. I tried.
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't even get through it. I was gonna try to like fool y'all into thinking it was actually a really cool game.
You loved it. Like,
Yeah.
It was your sneaky
but I
pick.
couldn't even make it through the sentence without
Jeez.
laughing.
Was you trying to Morpheus us or whatever that?
I don't know. I just wanted
movie
y'all to
is?
be like, no way, that's a good game.
Now,
No way.
Final Fantasy VIII came out
Yes,
around that time, and that
it
was
did,
my
in
first
99.
experience with Final Fantasy. And honestly, I mean, people are probably going to hate me, but I enjoyed it more than 7.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people did.
Not 7 the person, but Final
Right. I
Fantasy.
enjoyed
Yeah, don't
nothing
say that
more.
about him.
I enjoyed nothing more than
I mean,
7 the person.
7 the person is one of my favorite
Yeah.
people in this world. I love you, boy.
He is,
Gave us a game.
He is a GG.
He is.
Final Fantasy VIII were the ones that introduced the Gunblades.
Gunblade.
And
Yes.
also you had the band The Black Mages take that and turn its music into metal based off the main character. I think his name was Leon,
Yes.
and he had a lion crest, and that was his thing. Like it started off with like techno, like maybe I'm a lion, boom, boom, boom. Like it's so epic.
Oh, yeah.
I think there was a card game. Was there a card game in it too? Or something
Yes.
like that?
I
Yeah.
don't remember what it was called.
There was a
but
lot.
Yeah, that card game was in a couple of them because it also made its way to. It was in 10. If you knew where to go, it was like a little Easter egg thing.
Oh, cool.
I was just horrible at it, but the game itself was cool. The summons were super dope. Like Ifrit was awesome. Shiva, just all of them just so epic. And the cutscenes, I remember watching those and going, "Well, this looks like real life. This is just like a movie." And then looking back, it's not that at all. It's It's terrible. It is so bad, but at the time it was just so beautiful and awesome.
But the gameplay, the graphics gameplay wise, the jump from 7, which is my favorite, to 8 was big, like big time. Because in 7 you had more of like blocky, almost chibi like characters that you were running around as, and then in 8 it was more of your standard, like they just kind of look like people.
Yeah.
Like whenever you run around the overworld.
Because you had 7 and the game called Legend of Dragoon. That came out at the same time, and they had those same similar graphics. Like you look at the cover of it, and then you're like, "Oh my god, this looks amazing!" You get in there and you're playing with them, and they're just these little chibi style block characters that are kind of 3D.
Yeah, but Legend of Dragoon was really good. I never got to finish it because, that one came on 4 discs.
It did.
And
One
the
of them was
4th
scratched.
disc was horribly scratched. So made it to the end of 3 and went,
That's the end of the
can't-
game.
That must be it because I don't know what's happening after that.
You just write your own credits on a sheet of paper and just slowly
I'm
look
gonna
at it.
write it on the scratched disc.
There were so many good games that came out in '99, but we've already talked about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater in your gaming pretty much through the '90s episode. And the last one I want to talk about is not even a game I played, but a game I avoided intentionally, and that was Silent Hill. And I still avoid those games because they've only gotten scarier and more realistic and terrifying. And Silent Hill was one of the first that I can remember, like mainline horror games that was common knowledge, because there have been plenty of them throughout time. But it's a niche genre that doesn't really get a lot of attention. Silent Hill is at the top of that list.
I think they've got a Silent Hill VR now.
Yes, they do. They, 4, I think it's Silent Hill, 4, and then Village, which is the most recent Silent Hill game. VR will be coming out for it
I
very
thought that
soon
was
too.
Resident Evil that was Village, or did they?
That's
have
what
one
I
too?
meant. Silent. That's where I messed up. It was, Wait a second.
Village was Resident Evil.
That was Resident Evil. Are they similar? Because I avoid them
Ish.
both because they're scary.
Ish. I mean, Silent Hill did come out then. But yeah, Village is Resident Evil, which is actually pretty good. Also kind of scary until,
Right.
You know.
The 10-foot tall Dami Mommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Lady Dimitrescu.
And yeah, Silent Hill was and Resident Evil, which I'm sure came out around that same time too. Like that genre, I wanted nothing to do with it, and still don't. But the part of me kind of wants to play it, but I don't want to be spooked.
I wonder what the Star Wars Episode 1 tie-in game was? I mean, I forget what it was like.
I know there was the Racer came out that year.
Yeah.
Because we already talked about NASCAR in space.
Yeah,
And-
Pod Racer was the Phantom
I
Menace.
love that game. I even have it on my Switch now to where I can play pod racing on my Switch.
But
No,
nobody
this is
remembers what
pod
the
racing.
movie tie-in game was like.
No, I think it just followed the game, the movie, right? Are you talking about the Phantom Menace game?
Yeah.
Because it was just called Star Wars Episode 1 Phantom Menace, the game.
I don't
Right.
recall ever playing that or seeing that.
I may not have either. I was just saw it on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, it was at the...
I do remember
top.
I think for the second Attack of the Clones, they released a game. It was just like Jedi v Jedi. Like it was just like
Ooh.
that duelist kind of game. It was
Which
just
they
like
would
1v1
never
fighting.
do.
That's cool.
They did, and Grievous was on there.
Jedis would never fight one another.
We'll call it training.
Okay. They're sparring.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a very condensed list from the 90s, but just ones that shaped me, and even the ones I avoided shaped me, because I mean, still to this day, I do not want to play scary video games. And back in 99, that kind of was when that started, when I was like, I don't want to do this. I still don't want to, but I do want to take pictures of Pokemon. That's something I'll always want to do.
So I'm also going to take you back to the year 1999. Similarly to the shorty shorts that Marcus is wearing. Thank you for
Yes.
that, by the way.
Beautiful.
Now, do you remember sitting in school, getting pulled into the hot gymnasium, and we're going to have these people come in and talk to you today, and it's going to be fun, it's going to be great, and then here comes these large, burly men in 80s style tracksuits that are heavily padded to make them look like even larger men, because right now, today, at this time, we're talking about the Power Team.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, like,
Rip a phone book in half. That's the front
Yeah.
thing in my brain
and
when I
rolling the
think of the Power
skillet.
Team. Oh,
Now, there is a trick to ripping a phone book in half, but they actually didn't use the trick.
Oh.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Seven can tell you way more about that kind of thing than I can. But anyway, it was a Christian-based, athletic, motivational speaking crew. They would come into schools, and on their description, they use displays of strength and martial arts, which you have to very extremely loosely define martial arts, because I watched many clips and videos. I even found a VHS tape that I own of the Power Team.
Excellent.
But now, some of it is pretty impressive that they do, and some of it, looking back, you can tell is a gimmick, which kind of sad. But they would come into schools and talk about saying no to drugs and trying to help motivate you and speak out against bullying and things like that, which was really cool. And then, they would try to get you to come to their other show that they would do later on that night or whatever, which would be at some church. And then they would try to, spread the gospel of Jesus. So it was cool, kind of like two different sides, depending on where they were at. And I've actually been to a couple of their shows, which are very entertaining because the drama and the hype of their little MC guy just building it up to like, he's going to ram his skull through 18 layers of concrete, driving it right between his eyes. And it's just like, wow, did you have to present it like that? Which, I mean, it looks cool visually.
Yeah.
Break a cinder block on my dick. I love the go.
Yeah.
I love the Lord.
Using only his hands and the power of Jesus Christ, he's going to roll the skillet into a burrito.
Hey, kid, do you believe in Jesus? How about now? Rips the phone book in half.
Pretty much. Yeah. If you don't do drugs, you can do this too. He's going to ram his shoulder into 5 feet of ice while it's on fucking fire. It's just so overhyped. And watching the videos, they're like, if you try to watch them, they're all from the 90s. They've got this crazy, just like horrible kind of rock / metal-y thing, and your mullet senses tingle so hard because half of them have mullets. And they are still around today. Today they are the Power Team 2.0.
Oh, God. Well, when did they turn 2?
Well,
0.0.
there was a controversy in 2017.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
There's no telling.
Well, I mean, it's nothing real crazy. The guy that founded it had a divorce and ended up leaving the team, and a lot of other people did. And then some of them reformed, and now they're the Power Team 2.0. Also, there was like a bankruptcy thing around that.
Gotcha.
But they're essentially the same thing.
They just need to rebrand. Like,
Yeah,
quote
pretty
unquote.
much to kind of separate from him and whatever. But
If you watch the show on HBO called The Righteous Gemstones, in season 2, the youngest of the Gemstone boys has his own power team in which he raises them.
It's hilarious.
And I'm saying this in the best way. It's like he's raising them from who they were to who he wants them to be, which is worshipers of him instead of Jesus. And it's pretty great. So if you want to watch something that's going to depict pretty close to what you're seeing in the Power Team, except a little bit skewed, that'll be a good one.
see, and during my research today, I saw that they did perform on America's Got Talent. They did not go to the next stage because I think it was Pierce Brosnan, I want to say. One of the British guys was like, well, it was exciting, but it was not entertaining. And I'm like, how can it be boring and exciting? You're an idiot.
Wait, Pierce Brosnan, the guy
I
that
could
used to
be
play
off.
Bond,
No.
is a judge on
No.
America's Got Talent?
Maybe I said the wrong name.
Pierce
It's
Morgan?
yes, thank you.
Gotcha.
Oh
You
god.
know,
See,
the
like what I think Silent Hill
Simon
is.
He's
Cowell
even
knockoff.
worse.
It happens.
Yeah, he's the Simon Cowell knockoff. But speaking
God,
of
he's
knockoffs,
terrible.
I did come across a knockoff of the Power Team, and it entertained me even more than the Power Team. They are, hold on, Omega's Might, I think it is.
Oh boy.
They're based out of Kentucky. They were also on America's Got Talent, but they actually got to go to the Vegas round.
Because they had banjos instead of heavy metal. They were representing where they were from a lot
it
better.
It was a direct rip because the guy's like, look, we got the world's strongest senior citizen, because one of the members of the team was 75 at the time.
Whoa.
And he's like, he's going to do a 300-pound barrel squat, which he did a bench squat, if any of you know what that is. And the first rep was just like, I'm going to just slightly bend my knees. And they were just, it was, like I said, it was an even worse Power Team.
But better because of it.
But better because it was worse.
They're like, imagine the Harlem Globetrotters, but
Yes.
in powerlifting.
Yes.
Like, I think they're pretty much the equal of that.
Yep.
Because the Harlem Globetrotters have their announcer person making the basketball game much more fun than, the trick shots and everything going on, of course. But the MC makes a big difference in something like this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it's just such hype and just the descriptive words. That's just really what gives it just this appeal, because it gets you amped up for something that's really just kind of boring that you've seen 1,000 times.
Yes.
Hashtag lift for Jesus.
Much like the Messiah himself, Greg grew up a carpenter and the son of a carpenter. His hands are strong like oak.
Yeah.
Hashtag Swolger.
That's great.
Yes.
See, one of my favorite clips was, I think his name was Brian Tuttle, something like that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's out there and he's got these chains coming off of these. He's just got his wrist wrapped in duct tape and what looks to be a washcloth. And then over that is a handcuff. Then attached to the handcuff is a really long chain that he's just dragging about the floor. And he's trying to be motivational, and he's kind of failing, in my opinion. He's like, see, like 10 years ago, I was big and bad, and I walked into a big bad bar because all my buddies were there. And then I said no to alcohol, and now look at me now. I'm huge and built for Jesus. I'm going to snap these really thin chains.
Look at me now. I'm talking to a bunch of kids in an elementary school.
Yeah, pretty much. And look at my mullet and my baggy hammer pants that are padded.
Have you ever seen more muscle in Parachute?
I would love to see this, but without any music, no MC. It's just them up there grunting and smashing their head into things with no crowd reaction, nothing. Like, I think that would be a beautiful, just cringeworthy sight that I could sit through.
Dude, it's just cringy just watching it.
Overall.
If there's a VCR somewhere in this place, I will dig out that cassette tape and I will bring it and we will watch it.
I would be more than happy to.
I think I told the story on the podcast before, but at my school, it was just one guy, and he was just more of a motivational speaker. But he sat there and tried to rip that book in half for at least 35 minutes. Like, I swear the teachers were about to line us up and everything. But he was like, hold on. Like, he did not want any child to leave before that book. Took him forever. Even when he was halfway through it, he was still just...
You got the really sucky one.
Talk about cringe, man.
You had the half power team.
Talk about cringe.
I don't care how many times you tell that story on this podcast. I need to be reminded of
Well, this
it.
could be somebody's first episode,
Constantly.
and they don't know.
Exactly.
Oh, it's funny. every
Love
time.
it. We need to make our own power team.
Maybe something made him question his faith that day, so therefore his reserves were depleted.
That's what
So
it was.
he
It
could
was
have.
probably my, like, cosmic stare. I was just staring right into his soul. I was like, you can't do it.
The eldritch abomination
I
in
don't
human
believe
skin
you.
known as I Am Electric Man.
He forgot to read his Bible that morning.
Well, speaking of reviving old athletics, so I know y'all have probably heard about the Mesoamerican Ball Game.
Yes,
You have.
because I've had a history course that taught me it. But
See, I
outside of
never-
that, I don't think I ever have.
I was never taught it myself. And
No?
yeah, because I just feel like I've
Played
always.
it once?
I mean, yeah, we learned about the conquistadors and stuff coming
Right.
over and messing it all up. But the more I learn about the Mesoamerican culture itself, the more it just kind of blows my mind. Like it's just, there's so much we don't know about it. But I just want to focus on one particular little aspect of it. It's called the ball game, as far as we know.
Was that the one with the little sideways hoop?
Yes. So for as long as we can like understand that they've made these rubber balls, like all the way back to the Olmecs, which would be like the predecessor civilization
Oh, predecessor of the New Max.
to the to the whole Mesoamerican culture. I'm like the pantheon, the ball games. I mean, so much of it comes from the Olmecs. So we find these ball courts like 1600 BC. So you're talking like super super old and ancient, and they find these all over South America.
And they even had bleacher sets to where you can tell that this is what this little flat part of this field was for.
Right. It was just a huge part of their culture. It had like religious symbolism kind of built into it, but it was also like extremely brutal, and the losers were often sacrificed to the gods and beheaded and things of this nature. And this was just part of it.
Go sports.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was no joke. But I don't know. The courts were huge. I mean, think some of them were like 500 foot long or something, like maybe even longer than that. I'm terrible with numbers.
That's more than 10.
But they so imagine like a modern kind of drainage ditch. Like, can you kind of imagine that where there's slopes up to the right and to the left, but like this long, narrow kind of passage
I'm thinking
down the
skate
middle?
park.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Like a
But
big
then there's
half pipe.
hoops kind of up at the top, and they have this kind of big rubber ball, which could sometimes weigh like 8 pounds
Whoa.
and break your bones.
Nice.
Would
So it's a medicine ball.
pretty much,
Yeah,
but it
basically.
would bounce, and but you weren't allowed. Basically, you were only allowed to use like your elbows and your hips to hit it. And when you watch people play it, like I wouldn't be able to walk after like a couple of tries because
Hold on. How did you watch people play this? Did
Well,
you,
they-
do you
there's
have
a-
a time machine?
Reenactments.
there are a lot of reenactments nowadays. There's actually a lot of people trying to kind of revive it.
Minus beheadings.
Well,
more than
I was
likely.
going to ask,
Maybe.
does that make it like
It's not.
That makes
that-
it lesser than.
Yeah.
Right.
If we're going to appropriate culture, we're going to appropriate the entirety thereof.
in Mexico where the
Mesoamerican stuff.
that those would be their ancestors.
Yeah.
They're trying to revive it there. But yeah, I'm assuming no beheadings this time.
But that's just an assumption. We don't know
yeah.
yet.
But
If we have any resurgences post, the game being brought back of the old gods, then we'll know that they're sacrificing people
well,
again.
the balance might be off. I don't know. It is pretty hot
Yeah.
because the ball was actually kind of supposed to symbolize the sun. This is as far as we know, right? Because
Right.
like we don't know. There's a lot we don't know. Plus, the game's been around for so long that I'm sure it changed depending on which culture within the many different ethnicities and cultures in Mesoamerica. But what we can kind of glean is that the worldview of the Mesoamericans was that there's the heavens, there's the earth, and then there's the underworld, which is called Xibalba. And it's like called the place of fear, and it's like there's 9 levels of it, and it's ruled by 12 lords of the underworld. Mm-hmm. And these lords are responsible for like disease and afflictions and just, bad stuff. And so these 2 heroic twins are challenged to play against the lords of hell in the ball game.
Hell yeah.
Or, the underworld.
Yeah.
And the lords win, and they dismember the twins who die and are reborn as the sun and the moon. And so, yeah, that's as much as we got, but it's still like an epic origin story for a sport that I think our sports nowadays are kind of lacking.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you can have a sports game involved with the creation of the earth and moon, you're legend.
I mean, isn't that essentially the basis of cricket?
Pretty much.
I don't know.
I've
We
read
could
the
we could
rules.
get into analyzing that. I don't know.
See, this story is similar to Space Jam, but if Michael Jordan lost.
Right.
Like if Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny are the twins,
Right.
what if they had lost?
Have you ever
Yeah,
spread that on a peanut butter sandwich?
Tried. It's delicious.
Yes,
But
it
yeah,
is.
so it's kind of like trying to symbolize that the sun every day kind of goes down into the underworld. The moon does the same, and to keep the balance. And I'm assuming that's kind of where the sacrifice comes in, because I mean the whole idea of sacrifice in their culture was to like appease the gods.
Mm-hmm.
So the game is played by like 5 to 8 members, kind of standing on opposite field of each other. And you kind of serve the ball, much like volleyball. So think volleyball with no net, and then the other team either fails to return the ball, which I'd say there was markers on some of the courts where if the ball stops there, it means something. If it stops here, it means something else. Mm-hmm. And then there's 2 hoops on, like I said, think of the drainage ditch. Like if you go up the slopes just a little bit, there's guys standing up there too for when the ball bounces their way, they can try to knock it into the hoop, because if you knock it into the hoop, I think in some versions that means like the game's over, like kind of Harry Potter Quidditch style.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so then it's like automatically you go get to behead their head coach and
Nice.
sacrifice all of their players.
So, like when they served it, did they serve it like with an elbow, or do you just huck it? Or
I'm
what?
not exactly sure. Well, like
I'm
I said,
just
there's
trying to
probably
picture it in my head.
Yeah, I know it is hard to picture, and it's hard to describe. That's why I've kind of went with the drainage ditch thing, because to me it's the easiest way to recognize it. But yeah, I think they serve it with their hip. I mean, I think they hold it and then they kind of bounce it and then knock it with their hip.
I don't feel like it would go very far with a hip. I mean, it might. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it goes further than you think, at
willing
least
to
in
try
the
it with a
images that I've
basketball.
seen. But sometimes they have to go down on the ground, like the way they have to like hit the ball with their hip when the ball's rolling.
Jeez.
Yeah, like that would just hurt, especially when your life's on the line, right? And you're just laying out and diving so hard.
Nothing
I mean,
will
if your
stop
life
you.
is on the line, you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you're also going to break a lot of tailbones.
But
too.
you're gonna be alive.
Am I gonna
Let's not
break-
talk about that. I've done that. It's
Am I going to
terrible.
break some bones, or am I going to cease to live? I think I'm going to try to break. I broke my ass bone. Just throw the game.
Just
throw the game.
And these like epic legends of these games are etched into history of Mesoamerica. Like you can
Correct.
find pieces of this history like in walls.
Yeah,
like,
there
to
are
where it
still some
means
ball
that much.
courts that we can still go and look at today, and some of them have reliefs carved into the walls of the ball courts of beheading people, like a victorious gladiator holding the head of a slain opponent.
Yeah.
I mean, so this was like, I don't know. It's hard to understate how important this was to their culture.
Yeah.
Like for a long, long time, many, many thousands of years.
Yeah.
That could have been like the gladiator culture of their culture.
That is
Yeah,
exactly
that's
what
what
it
it
is.
is.
It was like
So-
American gladiators, but
Not.
Mesoamerican.
Mesoamerican gladiators.
Yeah, Mesoamerican gladiators.
I would watch that show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would totally watch that show. But there was actually professional players who made a living off of like prizes from winning games and patronage. Like, so royal people would like sponsor professional players to go and whip up everybody's
I
booty
see what
holes.
you did there. They made a living playing this game, where if they lost, they would die.
would die.
So technically, every winner made a living playing the game.
That's true.
And you said that royalty would kind of pick their champions or whatever for this. And I think also that has to do with like the this is one of the things that they had fun, like that viewers got to have fun doing.
Correct. I mean, they gambled on it.
Yeah, it was the form of entertainment, and the more fun people are having watching this ball game, the more popular you are as a leader, like of these tribes and stuff like that, and what's considered royalty or whatever. So the more successful these ball games are, probably the better chance you have of staying in the position you're in. Mm-hmm. So they really wanted to push like very good athletes for this within their tribes.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It is very cool to think about. I mean, because they had like a much like, from the perspective that I was taught in school, like their actual culture versus what I learned was much more sophisticated than I think that we give them credit for in our, young people's textbooks.
Right. Yeah.
Like they had zoos and stuff in their cities. Mm-hmm. This was after a certain period of time. We're talking about a very large period of time here, so it's hard to kind of generalize too much. But so there are some speculations that they might have actually made some of the balls out of human skulls.
Nice.
Because of there already is a lot of decapitation imagery near the courts, some of the courts and stuff. And at one of the cities, there's this giant wall of skulls right outside of the ball court, and some speculate that those may have been the losers of the games.
The wall of shame.
Jeez.
Pretty much.
That's metal.
Yeah, that's pretty metal.
Imagine being the away team and showing up to a game, and the first thing you see when you roll up is a wall of human skulls. And like that's where you could end up if you don't win. So it's motivational for sure.
Yeah. But I'm gonna try real hard to win. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to do better when I talked about the iconography or the religious symbolism in the game. And this is again just speculation on historians' accounts and stuff.
Yeah.
But one side of the court was kind of symbolizing of heaven, and so I think the ball bouncing into the heavens as like the sun going up into the sky, and then the other side of the court represented the underworld, where it would go and sleep its cycle and then be reborn again. So this cycle of death and rebirth is like kind of encoded into the game itself.
Well, we know what side Marcus would want to stand on.
Death.
Yes.
Is that the one in the shadows? Because I don't want to be in the sun.
know.
It's too hot.
I
Yeah,
just
let's be
like
in
the
the
music,
shade.
guys. I'm not really evil. Just like
So
the
you
music.
say. There's just a look in your eye. I don't know.
How am I supposed to make good music if I'm not fueled by Satan?
I don't know. I mean, it's just hard to imagine doing something like this for sport in our modern society.
Oh yeah.
But we should probably take a minute and try to. There's a joke somewhere in there, isn't there?
with our ball games,
Yeah.
and being like those ball games. I mean, the closest thing we have to decapitation is concussion protocol, would probably say. Concussions in football are the closest thing that we're going to get.
Fights in hockey, fighting in hockey.
Yeah.
T-ball.
What?
T-ball? Have you seen brutal T-ball games?
Well, it's like, well, yeah. I mean,
It is
have you
pretty
seen
brutal to watch
5-year-olds?
T-ball.
Well, think about it. You have a stick, which could symbolize a person with a ball, which is their head, and you decapitate it with a bat.
True,
Okay,
true.
we do
So,
have some symbolism.
see,
Okay,
Yeah.
I see that.
See, and that's another thing. I think it's so cool because their ball game, the Mesoamerican Ball Game, was like steeped in mythology, and it had an origin myth, basically.
Right.
And I don't know. I want that to be true for all of the sports that we play, but
Right.
their stories are much less cool than
Ours are more just objective, like what makes this objective make sense kind of thing, as opposed to let's base this on our religion, basically, that they did. Like, so,
Right.
Well,
but I mean, baseball is its own religion. So
true.
Well, I can smell a new reimagined type segment coming on.
reimagine,
Reimagine
sports games.
sports.
Reimagine sports.
Reimagine sports.
I mean, maybe that is
games,
kind of maybe
reimagine.
this topic was the seed of that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't know, I didn't plan on like actually speculate. I just thought it was cool that there's a sport from that long ago. I don't know. There's no telling why I have the stupid thoughts I have. Thought it was interesting.
It
okay?
is.
Quit making me
I'm
explain
glad
it,
you have
Tiny.
stupid
Look,
thoughts.
you're the only one that's saying they're stupid,
Yeah.
Marcus.
You
never,
idiot.
You never
Stop
know.
talking bad about my friend.
You never
he looks
know.
good in shorty shorts. I'm sorry for interrupting so many times.
It's okay. Marcus does look good in shorty shorts, and it is actually surprising to see what actually can spark your
Also,
brain into
the
stuff
costumes
like
that they would wear too. I forgot to mention that they're like awesome headdresses and their armor and stuff that they would wear during the game.
It's not some lame hat and tight pants, which
Yeah.
I also, I'm into that too.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it would be cool if more sportsmen wore more cooler armor.
I bet their
Yes.
I bet their armor would be like the Lost Boys armor off of the movie Hook. How it was like all made out of like bamboo shoots and all those like all those different things.
The
like
league
that.
will not supply you with your armor. You have to make it yourself.
Yes.
Well, I don't know. We pay our athletes so much, and we kind of baby them because we pay them so much money.
Right.
We're so afraid that they're going to get hurt. But I don't know. It's just weird how we got there from where human origins.
Well,
You know.
I mean, in high school, I played a game wearing plate armor.
You did, and you did
Yeah.
tackle other people.
I did. I tackled and hurt many other male children. Not necessarily children, but you get in there, you strap it on, you put on your helm, and then you just
Slapping me.
so good.
Right. But now everybody's scared that they're going to get hurt.
That's why I don't play, because I'm scared I get
I
hurt.
mean,
Yeah, me too. I
did
mean-
get hurt, and
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
don't know.
care.
I don't think there's an overarching point to this topic.
it
I was
doesn't have to
trying to
be.
weave it in there.
Yeah. No, there doesn't have to be.
Well, I mean, that's
it's just neat.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
mythology, there's history, there's sports. There's a shit ton of stuff revolving around that entirety of the stuff you were talking about that is all
Legendary, like heroic figures that
Yeah.
were
Yes.
dominant on the court.
And much like our times in present, some of their most heroic figures just so happen to come from sports teams.
well, also, I wanted to, a lot of people probably know about this, but also, I guess I just probably am kind of upset that it doesn't. Obviously, I don't want anybody to get decapitated nowadays, but if it were to have survived until now, it's probably been reformed kind of naturally, much like other things
Right.
do. And it's just sad that we've lost a lot of information about those kinds of things and about that whole entire culture. There's so much that was just kind of lost to history.
Yeah. But I'm sure there's some places in Mexico you could go to where they'll be like, yeah, we will teach you. Because it's one of those like word of mouth history things too.
Yeah, it's an oral tradition.
Yeah, exactly. It's to where they're like, we still play this game to the best of our knowledge.
Yeah.
Minus
do.
the beheading
They do.
more than likely. But yeah, we could
It's just not as popular as
learn
like soccer.
Yeah, right, exactly. The world's sport.
Right.
Oh man, that's the origin of soccer. Like, just think about it. They're not able to use their hands.
It's the origin of most ball game sports. It's like considered basically the origin, right? Of
I mean,
as
it's
far
one,
as,
it's
like,
one of the
history
oldest
goes.
team sports
Yeah.
that's ever been discovered, for
Right.
sure.
Well, whatever got your brain buzzing about some Mesoamerican ball was also probably the thing that caught my brain about my topic this week.
Uh-oh.
It was just a random worm that happened to me, but I'm going to tell you a story really fast. Well, not necessarily really fast. I'm just going to tell you a
Okay,
story.
thank you. 'Cause
Oh,
Story about Kathy and Callie. Kathy is a photographer. Kathy has a daughter named Callie. They live together. Of course, mom, daughter. Their house has a really kind of a good forest line next to it and a bunch of power lines that are out in front of it. Okay? You've got the scene. Crows live all around where they are living at. And there are a lot of people that, see crows as bad omens, see crows as like something that are darker in nature, and they fear them. I mean, they're solid black creatures that can see you.
dark wings, dark words.
Yeah.
I was going to do that.
But instead of viewing them as such, they decided they would be nice to them. And the birds started to be nice back. So they would feed these birds, and they would like sprinkle little. They did some research, and they found out what would be good to feed the birds. And certain brands of dog food are okay to feed to animals like crows. They're the corvid variety: crows, ravens. And they would sprinkle this food in the backyard. The crows would come eat, and all these crows were just living it up. So they started noticing little trinkets appearing in the backyard, like an earring the daughter had found and showed to the mother. And the mother was, "This isn't my earring. I don't know what's going on." The daughter was convinced it was a present from the crows. The mother, kind of brushed it off like, "This isn't happening. Crows aren't going to bring you a gift," until they kept doing it. Bottle caps, paper clips, anything shiny and metallic, they viewed as something precious, and they would bring it as gifts. Well, one day, Carol went out to do a photographer, like to go out and photograph some people, as her, photography business goes. You got to go out and shoot some people, and then she leaves something. She leaves one of her lens caps for one of her cameras sitting at a site, and she gets a little upset about it, by the time she gets home, And she's like, man, I'm going to have to go back and get that. I really hope that's there because I don't want to have to spend money on getting another one. That's ridiculous. And then she hears a click. And that click was the sound of the lens cap hitting the back door. Because with becoming friends with these crows and being nice to these crows, the crows have been taking a liking to these people and then had started watching them and trying to be sure that they are safe. So even though she had gone off on a job where she had to drive a little bit away from home, there was one crow from the murder of crows that actually followed her to watch out for her. And that's what brings me to my topic today. Familiars.
Yeah.
Animal familiars.
Animal
So
familiars.
I mean, crows are very intelligent birds.
That's a cool story.
That is a really,
it's
really
true.
cool.
It's true story.
I want a crow familiar.
Me too.
And and with crows have the intelligence, and most other actual corvids like that have a higher intelligence than a lot of birds, but up to that of a 7-year-old child. So they can recognize, and they're one of the only species of any animals aside from certain mammals that are tool users. Mm-hmm. They know how to use tools. Like they can bend certain things. Like if they can find the right materials, they'll make hooks and make tools to be able to achieve certain tasks.
Ooh, so they go fishing.
They actually do. I could find
Like
you
a
a video of
fishing
that.
pole?
You know what a badass I would look like with a crow familiar?
Yeah, or like a murder of them, like kind of floating around you.
Just like a whole swarm.
Yep, just floating in a big circle in the sky. Familiars are creatures that have been magically bound to a person in a master-servant style relationship. The actual type of familiar varies greatly on what kind of small animal it's going to kind of best suit the person that it's serving. So you've got several different familiars all across different kind of, stories and this and that. I mean, you've got, crows are a big one for, especially if you're in the Game of Thrones, like crows are not, they're both familiars and messengers and alliterations and everything. They're everything.
Alliterations?
Yeah, I don't think they're alliterations.
Not
I don't think
alliterations.
they're alliterations.
Let's
Allegory?
rewind. Hold on. Wait for it.
Okay.
And they're alluding to a lot of different things as being crows.
Foreshadowing.
And, there's other ones as well. You got your wolf in Game of Thrones. You've got your lion, your dragon. They're all pretty much familiars.
Shadow cat.
Yes. What?
A shadow cat.
Is that from the...
An eagle.
A boar.
Yeah, that was that.
It's actually from the Game of Thrones role-playing book. Those are all the familiars you can have.
Really? They have a familiar section to where you can pick them out and stuff? That's cool.
Sure do.
I want to see this book.
I've told y'all about it many times.
But you never showed it to me.
see it, though.
I've got it on Google.
I want to hold it.
Here.
Smell it.
Give
They're
me your
all
Google.
Familiars are also referred to as telepathic pets. They're referred to as empathy pets, bond creatures, or the right-hand cat.
Some of the best characters in all of fiction are animals, are just little doggos.
And Sabrina the Teenage Witch's cat, Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's probably the first one that came to your mind when you're like incredible ones of history, right?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
And with familiars and then they're kind of their animal spirits, that's actually from an old belief that Satan himself would bestow witches with a spiritualized animal.
An old belief?
I mean, as old as, however old Christianity was going to be, because that's who was thumping it. Oh, burn the witch, she's got a cat. Oh, I could, God, imagine what Dane's going to be one when he gets older, so I'm excited to see it. But
I'm
just
excited to see what you're about to say.
any grumpy old man that you see just accusing people of stuff, except that gets them killed.
Especially with witchcraft.
Yeah, like...
That's a good one, doesn't it?
You lost me on why it would be me.
Oh, no, just being a grumpy old man.
Oh, okay.
You're going to grow up to be a grumpy old
I will. I'll probably be a grumpy old man.
You're already a grumpy old man.
Hey, shut your...
We're all
I
going to
can't
get...
wait to be a grumpy
We're all
old
going to
man.
get there eventually. The thing that I think is great about the idea of a familiar, though, is also broadening the aspect of familiars, because different kind of sections of culture view familiars not only as spiritual animals, but also spiritual objects, such as weapons that are bestowed that have, that familiar spirit trapped within the weapons. So, and
Like katana.
yeah, and there's a in Bleach, the anime that I like so much is they have these things called Zanpakutos. Those are their swords. They have spirits trapped within them, and by having the spirits in those blades, you form a spiritual blonde. Smack that
Spiritual
whatever.
blonde.
It's a spiritual blonde. Happy birthday, Mr. Popesident.
I just really want to meet a really spiritual blonde.
I'm telling you. See,
I'll make you see God.
I've got my Uncle Alan. How is that funny? I have an uncle named Alan. If I've ever met a man that has had a familiar, it is probably him, because I mean he's an older man now at this point, lives in the middle of nowhere. He's an old school like preacher man. Yet he has weird animals that come up and become his friend. Like he had a crow at one point. I seen a coyote at another point. He would go out and preach to it. He had a bobcat at one point. They'd just come up. He'd go out there, pet them, and talk to them and chill with them. Birds would come around and land on his shoulders. And he had a deer at another. I've never seen anything like that. Like animals love me, but they really love him. And I don't understand.
He sounds like a Disney princess.
He kind of is.
You know what it sounds like to me?
What?
Wait, is your Uncle Alan still alive?
Yeah.
Do you know where he lives?
I saw him yesterday.
Oh, you know where he lives?
Yeah.
I'll need that address. Because he's a witch! We gotta burn him! Burn his ass! No, really, though. The idea of it stretching to other types of material, too, just like you not just got animals, you've also got weaponry, you've got other iterations of it as well.
Tiny's HHR.
Yes. There's 437 screaming eagles under the hood of that HHR.
All familiars.
All familiars.
It makes me want a character
None of them are a stranger.
with like an inanimate object as a familiar. Well, I guess like Tom Hanks's Castaway, like Wilson.
Yes.
Wilson is a
Yes.
familiar. Yes, that'd be
But
great.
I want somebody with like a styrofoam cup, like an empty styrofoam cup.
Or Elijah Woods in Swiss Army Man. Is that a familiar?
Ooh.
That's not Elijah Woods.
That's
Is it not?
That's Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe, yeah.
They're the same
commonly
person.
mistaken. Yes.
Yeah, honestly.
They're the same
Just
person.
like Silent
Frodo
Hill
Harry
and Resident
Potter.
Evil. You
Yeah.
guys see where I'm at.
Yeah.
Tiny, you can say they're the same person as long as you acknowledge that their movie franchises are very opposite and different.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
It's just the same actor. He just has more than one name.
So, is Smeagol a familiar?
I don't know, but Gandalf took long enough to summon his familiars.
Oh, gosh.
What?
Well, they had to have a movie, okay?
They had to
Yeah.
have an entirety of everything. I get it, but
They had to make it a trilogy.
What would your familiar be?
that'd be something good to decide because I think that my familiar would actually I feel like she already exists.
Millie, your
Yeah.
puppy dog?
Yeah.
I
'Cause
have
she-
had visitations from Fae-like creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I think I would probably go with that. They're pretty nice. They're pretty crazy looking though.
I want to pet one.
Yeah, they're weird.
I don't know what mine would be. A goat. A goat. Mine would be a goat.
That'd be a good one.
That would be a really good one. It could protect me by ramming things. See, when I think of familiar, my brain just sees like a mystical version of them.
Yeah.
Like not like a physical being of it, but like almost like a
Yeah, like a spiritual.
yeah, something like that. But I guess it's the fusion of the two, right? There's like a spiritual connection with this physical thing.
I mean, it just
Right?
depends on the magic system, I guess.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Tiny's is a pot-bellied pig named Toby.
Yes,
Yes.
that is what I want. Either that or a possum. But I feel like, well, I mean, I've got to pet a possum. They're really cool. But beside the point, I feel like I'd end up with Nola, which, Nola, I love you, and I'm glad that you're my doggo and you're in my life. But she is like the worst familiar. All she does is want to steal my bottles that I'm drinking out of and destroy them in my house. And I know you're running and bouncing off the door right now as I'm listening to this on the computer. But
The lesson still stands.
yes,
she needs to
still,
hear this.
Stop hiding my stuff. You can destroy the water bottles, just not into such small, sharp pieces, okay? I want them easily sweep-upable.
And in some iterations of familiars, you've also got to where it's not just a familiar as in another spirit. It is an extension of your spirit, like a person's soul or their source of power is actually coming from that familiar, just like the Witch Boy in DC. I think his name is... Graven.
It's not Craven.
No, it's not Craven.
I know who
What
you're
is this?
talking
Let me look
about.
at Clarion.
Because it's all, Clarion.
Clarion the Witch Boy, but he's got a familiar that is just a little cat, and that's where all of his power kind of comes from and emanates from. And if that cat gets killed, he's kind of screwed too because he's not got any kind of medium channel for his power. So now he's just mortal.
Is that why Nola licks my head?
She has to cleanse you of the...
Because she does it at least in every morning when I get up, and usually before I'm going to bed, and I hate it.
She's cleaning the spiritual filth from your mind.
Yeah,
by
but
licking your
maybe
head.
she's hiding things you don't need, Tiny.
Yeah, maybe she's
Maybe.
consuming all of this for your benefit.
Maybe. But I just feel like she's a terrible familiar.
And Maleficent, they've also got ravens that are the familiars there as well. The transforming raven in Maleficent is really cool.
The Wicked Witch has flying monkey familiars.
Exactly. Fly, my pretties, fly. So I don't know. I think that having a familiar would have to have a benefit to it, though. You'd have like some kind of benefit to having that familiar, not just like you have like the Golden Compass, like His Dark Materials style, like demon with you. It's like, oh, here's a representation of your soul. It's a cat. Like what?
That's boring.
Like what power is my Millie gonna have? I want my Millie to have like, she's gonna have to be something stinking. Rot mouth. Yep, I've got rot. Yeah, she's got stank mouth. So I've got rot. I've got rot magic. So rot magic, but only
She's a
because
necromancer.
yes, from the stank mouth of my Shizu, she opens her mouth, her eyes turn black, and I just draw out this freaking staff that's nothing but just dark decay, and I can just there we go.
Incredible.
What about come on?
I think mine being a goat, I think it would be between being able to consume anything. Like I can eat whatever I want, anything. Or I have the ability to like headbutt things in my head, be like almost like a solid, like rock solid thing that can't be penetrated. I think that would be pretty cool too. But I think I'd rather just be able to eat, like, I don't know, the paint can over there. Like, I think that'd be a cool power, right?
I mean, you can still do that.
I could in very small increments.
You can eat anything, but some things you can only eat once.
That's true. That's true.
Man, that's a good way to look at life.
I think for me, I'm going two different things here. I feel like my Fae companions could create fairy circles for me to travel in between the mortal realm and the Fae realm. Mm-hmm. But then I also feel like, I don't know if I'm getting pixie dust from Peter Pan or what, but I feel like mine would have like little dust that they spread in places, and that the dust would have some sort of, I don't know, mischievous effect on the people that inhale it.
Yeah.
If they
I
can
can't
make-
decide what that would be yet.
If they can make fairy circles, I want you to be able to like walk up stairs of fairy circles instead of like having to go to a different dimension through them. They can also make like little walking pads and stuff to where you can almost look like you're flying, but if you're just running through the sky, just boop, 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 boop.
I think it would be cool for the fairy dust to mask your existence.
Yeah, like just be secret.
Yeah.
almost one of the Fae, but I'm still immortal.
Right. They
Yeah.
can't see you if someone has that like fairy dust like within their
I'm
system.
basically their familiar.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
It's
Like
a give and
they're
take.
using
Yeah.
me to spy on the mortal realm, I think. More so.
Yeah. So in the end, you were the familiar all along.
I'm just their
Trope.
mortal pawn. Yeah,
Trope.
kinda.
It's a Sixth Sense thing.
Well, there you go.
We
I was
did
dead all along.
And your potbelly pig, what would it give you?
I feel like, okay, I would rub Toby because, Toby would like pettings.
Of course.
All animals love pettings. Even if they don't. They really do. They just don't want to show that side of themselves. I would just spring out more extra me to make me impervious to bullets, bladed weapons,
Like pigs
just
are.
whatever. I would basically become a juggernaut.
So like you would have extra thick skin,
Yes.
you'd be extra strong,
Yes.
Does it have to be based off of anything that like Toby's consumed?
I
Or
would probably get very poor eyesight to balance it out because potbelly pigs do not have the greatest eyesight.
Really?
and
Yeah.
and the I'd say that your magic reserves has to be judged off of the size of the pot belly, like
Yeah.
because
You just keep feeding them, just make them as fat as you can because you tap into his natural body fat essentially, and
Yeah.
it transfers into you and becomes
bacon.
what it is.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I hope that we've transferred into you this episode of Nerd It Through the Grapevine. Thank you all for listening on Spotify and iTunes and CastBox and Good Pods. Listen to us on Good Pods. I say that every week now because you should be doing it by now. And there's 5-star rating systems on, I think, all of those things. Do that. 5 stars in every single one of them if you can. And then in the description, say why you like us or why you hate us and still give us 5 stars because that's really cool of you to do. Also, you can click on the Teespring link within the description of the episode and go put us on your body via a t-shirt or a fanny pack or a mug. There's so many things on there. No hats. Don't ask for hats. We don't have any hats.
No hats for you.
No.
And also, if you wanted to talk about what familiar would be the one you would be the most familiar with, you can get on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram by looking up at Nerd Grapevine. Or if you wanted to donate a little bit to the cause, get a shiny holographic sticker with Nerd at the Grapevine's logo on it, and have access to the Grape Flavored Gaming episodes, get on Patreon and look up at Nerd Grapevine. Make sure you let people know, because it's still a recent thing, that it used to be Best Friends period, Tiny Ink period, but it has changed to Nerd Grapevine. So make sure you let them know that, otherwise it might cause them to have a little bit of...
If you look to the left, he's going to drive a skull into 43 stacks of on-fire concrete made of ice.
and then you're going to get on Discord and tell us about how excited that made you feel. There's a link in the description. There's meme channels. There's talking about Malcolm things. There's a lot of cool peeps on there that just talk about all kinds of random things. It don't have to be show related, but it can be because sometimes it is. But we're all on there. We're live, uncut, uncensored, and irrevocably circumcised.
And we're also on YouTube, and we will be adding stuff there probably a little bit more in the future.
Yep.
Grape Flavored Gaming.
Yeah. Every Monday I've been putting out an episode of Grape Flavored Gaming for the past couple weeks.
Well, what do you do when life gives you grapes?
Oh, no. I drive directly to Seven's house, and I open up a game called The Grape Escape. And I play it with him with all the joy in my heart that the 3 children on the back of that box have within them. And I might let you guys play with me.
Ooh.
But it may just be a me and Seven thing. Like,
What?
it may just be really intimate.
7 was my friend first.
And I've stolen him for
No.
this scenario. He asked me what I would do with the grapes.
I let 7 put things in me.
Can we all play?
Intimate
I've
Play-Doh
let 7 put things in
squishes.
me. Have
Well,
you?
He put joy in me, Tiny.
I was talking about jewelry.
Oh.
Oh.
Just to clarify.